Hi, welcome to a Dominions 5 video about middle-aged R'lyeh from the perspective of somebody who's an utter novice, me. This is a multiplayer game. I know none of the other players. I expect you have a basic understanding of the nation, R'lyeh, and that's it. Turn 0, what am I doing? Prophetizing the commander, who's an Illithid lord, that's great. I'm sending a scout to this kelp forest. It's in my cap circle. It should be rich. I should get lots of income from it. Alternatively, this one has 80 income, moderately good. That's fine. And what am I recruiting? I'm recruiting a priest who will get a starspawn, who will go into the void gate and hopefully not go nuts or die, but that happens. I'm also recruiting 3 Illithids who mind blast, and 2 and a bit meteorite guards. My plan is to use the Illithids to mind blast people, and then the Lobo guards are generally useless but will be able to hurt paralyzed naked people. So will these mediocre slave troops, but the meteorite guard can do some real damage and they're quite hard to kill. So my plan is to stun people into paralysis, then stab them to death. That's the idea. However, I know that I can only recruit 3 Illithids a turn in the first turn, and so I know that I will not be able to send an expansion party out next turn. That means my expansion as R'lyeh is going to be slow. I know that, and I think that's okay. We shall see. Onward to turn 2. Some boring messages, except the one from Faisha, which is slightly in character. I didn't mention before that I do not have an Awake Expander god. Since I'm not expanding this turn, my prophet has nothing to do except preach, which is fine. My priest, as I mentioned, is going into the void gate because I like crazy people. Or void summons, that would be nice. Recruitment, I am, as planned, recruiting 3 more Illithids and some Meteorite Guard, and I've switched my commander to the Slave Mage, and I plan to recruit a load of them and get my research really going. They can also command magical units, like the Illithids, which is a good thing and utterly necessary. The Meteorite Guard is non-magical, and they can command only 10 of those, but that should be enough. Let's have a look at what indies are in our cap circle. To our north, we have 30 Shark Tribe Tritons. 30 is quite a few Shark Tribe, because these bastards stab 3 times, actually they stab twice and then bite you for good measure, and they can berserk. So they're not great if there's a lot of them. With 30, there might be, because this could be a massive underestimate of how many there are, or it could be an overestimate. I don't know, and I can't see how rich the province is, so I have no idea. To my west, there are 30 Tritons, generic, sea trolls, and a kraken. That's not ideal, because monsters, like big monsters like the kraken, they're usually tricky. And also big sea trolls, not ideal. So that's not great. If you recall, that's where I sent my scout last turn, and this turn I'm having him attack southwards where it looks like we have a soft target. The trouble is, I want to be sure so that I don't come a cropper on this province. To my south, there are only 20 units, Tritons and sea trolls. That should be doable with very few troops and not many losses, if any. To my southeast, there are 40 turtle tribe. They're not too hard, but 40 is quite a lot of them, so that's worrying. And then directly to my east, there are 20 Kululus. They're fishes, they have high HP, they have reasonable magic resistance for indies. They're a little worrying, but there's only 20 of them. Less worrying than, well, if 40 is an underestimate, it could be a ton of Tritons. Scout reports are not 100% reliable. They could report troop numbers about half or about double. That's not ideal. Fortunately, I'm not expanding this turn. Next turn, I will get more numbers and I'll be able to have a better idea of what I'm facing. Turn 3. Phaeacia prophesized somebody, which they didn't do last time, and I have a battle report, my first. That was the scout I sent to see what was there. The scout lived and retreated back to Relia, which is great. The presence of a hydromancer is not great. I don't know if there being a kraken means there must be a hydromancer, maybe, but it's not ideal. And if we look at the battle and look at the hydromancer, he's got 2 rubbish items, but 6 gems and water 3. So a hydromancer can be a real pain, especially if he summons water elementals, which he can do pretty easily. What have we learned about the indies around us? We have an accurate report of what is happening to our south, and we have new troop numbers on the rest. To our west, there are turtles and sea trolls and a kraken. I sent my scout to have a look there. That, I think, was not ideal, because it would have been better if the scout did something else, like tell me exactly how many shark tribes there were. If he retreats, which he should do because he's scripted to from the shark tribe province, which is to the north, he has 2 provinces to retreat to, whereas if he attacks this kelp forest, he only has 1. That's assuming my prophet, who is now actually going on the march, wins this Kululu province. My army, a bunch of Lobo chaff, my 5 meteorite guards that I'm hoping will do a lot of killing, and some mine blasters. I did not use this script. What I used was hold an attack for both of the infantry units. I want the mind blasters to break up the enemy front lines. I also repositioned them so they were side by side. The Lobos and the guards do the walking forward and attacking. The Mind Blasters are here. In front of them is their commander, who's also a Mind Blaster. He's much better protected by his armor, and he's got a weapon, as well as being a Mind Blasting squid. We now have, to our north, apparently 60 Shark Tribe. Last turn, it's at 50. Either way, our estimate is, well, if it's between 50 and 60, that is too much Shark Tribe for us to handle. To our southeast, the Turtle Tribe Tritons now number 50. Also, probably too much for us to take without some serious attrition. And we now have an accurate report on our force to the south, which is too much for us to handle, especially with that hydromancer there, leaving us only one option to expand into, which is this Kululu province. It's not the richest, it doesn't have the most resources, and Kululus are largely useless. But it's the only option I've got. So I gotta do it. I'm recruiting exactly what I said I would. Let's find out what turn 4 has in hold, and let's see if our first and only expansion so far has succeeded. There are 2 battle reports because there's the real battle where my prophet may or may not live against the Kululus, and then there's a scouting report against the trolls and stuff. Most importantly in the messages, my priest summoning was successful. 3 formless spawns responded. I have no idea what formless spawns are at this point, but I'm gonna find out. Having a look at the scouting report, again, there's a hydromancer, there's 30 tritons exactly, 4 sea trolls and a kraken. It's all bad, but my scout lived and he got away to Relia, so yay! Let's have a quick look at the battle, and the hydromancer has not bad gear this time, including this eye of aiming, and even more gems. So that sucks. So let's have a look at the real battle where my prophet may live or die against the Kululus. That is a lot of Kululus, but my strategy seems to be working because the Mind Blasters have already made their frontline grouping break up. A lot fewer Kululus are heading towards me, and they're coming in dribs and drabs. They're still big ugly fishes, but it looks like everything is going according to plan. And spoiler alert, it did. I did take quite substantial losses though. The Lobo guards, they're chaff. I'm fine losing them, except when I'm expanding and I need them so that I don't lose the meteorite guards. I didn't lose any meteorite guards, which is great, but I did lose more than half of my Lobos and more than half of my slave troopers. There were 27 Kululus. The estimate was between 20 and 30. It was right there. So in that case, it was all right, but sometimes it is really not. So now let's look at what we know about the indies around us. At this point, I have one expansion army led by my prophet. Ideally, I want to go north because that's where most of the pond is and that's where the other underwater nation is. I'd like to take on the province straight above me to the north, which has also got lots of tritons in. 30 turtle tritons. They should be fine to take. To my south, it's now saying I have 20 turtle tritons. It has previously said I had 50 and 60. That's a little suspect. My scouting report also shows me I have 60 shark tritons north of Relay, which is a lot more than I can handle with the force I have. I have an exact report on the province to my west. The province to the north of that shows no troops in, and it's in my dominion. I thought it should show something, but it doesn't show anything. I have no idea. This turn, my scout who survived, good on him, I'm going to send him north to the shark tribe, but I am not going to make him attack and scout the province because my prophet's army is somewhat reduced. Let us have a look. It's not very big right now. That means even if I could, and I probably could expand northwards into 28, I probably would then have to go back and get more troops. That's one turn to the north, and then 2 turns to come back to Rely. And then finally, I could get up north. And my competitor in the ocean has already taken this kelp forest province to the north because his Dominion candle is showing there. Although I can't see his flag just yet because I'm not close enough. That means that if I want to challenge for this kelp forest, then I'll have to send my prophet back to get more troops. He's just got to go back to Rely. I can't expand again this turn. That's terrible. There is a little unrest in this province, but I have the right scales that will cause them to gradually diminish, and I'm lucky they won't get too upset with me and I will get resources, more resources, now that I have a whole 2 provinces in turn 4. Like I said, slow expansion. I know I can't take this province in my cap circle with what I've got. I know I can't take this province in my cap circle with what I've got. I can probably take this province in my cap circle with what I've got, but then my army's stuck again. And I really need to get north as fast as possible. So I have to send my prophet home. Instead of recruiting mind blasters, I've recruited some more Lobo Guard chaff. And I'm saving the money because when I get to that kelp forest, I want to be able to fight there and I want to be able to keep it and build a fort there. The other thing of note is that my priest summons 3 formless void, and they turn out to be these things, which are big sacks of HP, with regen 10, which is 10% regeneration. So at the moment, they're regenerating only 4 points a turn because they have 44 hit points. But being something from the Void Gate, they're also sacred. So a prophet can pick them up, bless them, and because of my bless, they will then be regenerating 5 HP a turn. That means their hit points 44 and regenerating 5 a turn. So they can probably survive definitely the first hit from Is's cavalry, and maybe the hit after that. They also are going to hit back, and they're going to hit back quite substantially with a couple of attacks. And they'll definitely do some damage when somebody's paralyzed from a mind blast. Now, it's a problem that the Morvac troops are glamoured. I'm hoping that's not going to be the worst thing in the world. Who knows? Anyway, my prophet has got to come home and he will pick up the formless spawn, which were an excellent void summon. And then I'm going to have to send him north. He's going to have to go straight into the Shark Tribe Triton. In this province, we have the Formless Spawn, we have the Meteorite Guard, and we have 3 Mind Blasters. That will have to supplement the ones he's got, because we're going to have to contest the Kelp Forest further north. We're just going to have to. That's the end of the turn. On with the next. Turn 5, and very little happened. I have updated scout reports that confirm my numbers so far. I have scout reports to my east. I have some sea trolls in a kelp forest. I don't care. I've already decided what I'm going to do with my prophet. I've already committed to that course. I also have some horse tribe cavalry on land. I think I can take them, but as I said, my course is set. Looking at it from the perspective of my opponent, he could reasonably expect that I had taken at least one of the provinces to my west or south, and then the other 2 underwater provinces to my southwest. I can't do that because both the province to my west and the province to my south has a mage that I can't handle right now, which is a diplomatic and logistic problem. Because I've expanded so badly, I don't have much income, and my opponent can reasonably expect that I am weak, but I am not weak enough for him to rush. I hope we can negotiate in turn 6. Turn 6 messages, and at last my first research target has been reached. I'll look at that in a second. There's also a proclamation from Ulm, which means they've created a prophet again. They have had as bad an expansion as I have. My scout in Nuptia bounced. The other player did not forget to put PD on, but he lived and retreated. My other battle was against the Shark Tribe. We'll cover that in more detail in a second. But for now, I want to talk about research. I just got my first level in Evocation. I did that because Evocation has a spell, Water Strike, which I think is really good for expansion, and makes the slave mages not be completely useless. I was not lucky when the random research was assigned. I didn't have any levels of Thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy 1 I need for convenience, which is one of my strengths. Instead, I have 2 levels of Alteration. Alteration 2 is not great for me, but Earth Meld might be useful, which is a level 2 spell. It takes Earth 2. In the Communion, I have slave mages who could cast that. It might be useful against the Sacred Cavalry. I'd have to be scripting it in Extremis because it does have a high fatigue cost, so it's likely to kill my Communion slaves. I want Conjuration 3. Let's look at the water spells. I'm underwater. At level 2, I can summon Water Bow to make my water mages stronger. At level 3, I can summon lesser water elementals. It costs me a gem, but that is going to be a significant power underwater. At level 4, I can search for water sites, but I don't think it's as good as the level 5 Voice of Tiamat. I want to go to level 5 anyway because that will allow me to summon a water elemental, a full-size water elemental. Underwater hits a size 6 crushing beast. They're dominating underwater. My research is really starting to gain speed. I've researched one school this month, Evocation 1, and next month I will get 2. I'll finish Thaumaturgy and Conjuration 2. Now let's look in further detail at the Shark Tribe battle. My losses were heavy. I won. I didn't lose the Mind Blasters, but I lost a Formless Spawn. I lost all my Lobo guards. I lost 2 Meteorite guards and all but 1 of my Slave Troopers. There were just under 50 Shark Tribe. That is a lot. I looked at the battle. The reason I did lose one of the Formless Spawns is that he decided to rush ahead of the others and got surrounded. He was more harassed than the others and just overwhelmed by the damage input. The other 2 were taking a lot of damage, but absolutely survived with their regen once they were blessed, particularly. I have 2 luck events in the province I've just taken, one of which adds a load of unrest, but I can't deal with that right now. Too bad. My plan is still to send my prophet further north into the enemy's land, because I have to. This is where I made a tactical diplomatic error. I sent him a message. There's some RP about how I'm going to crush him with my tentacles, and then a realistic, let's chat. I don't want to fight. I also contacted him on Discord. That was the error. A reasonable opponent would not expect that I would attack him in turn 7. It's way too early to start a war unless I'm rushing him, and I don't have any reputation at all, let alone one as an aggressive player. I'm about to get one because I'm going to storm his capital. We chatted, and he now knows that I am going to attack. If he has an army adjacent to that province, he can move it in and defend. The wiser course of action would be to send him the message in game as usual, attack the province unexpectedly, and send him a Discord message from a position of strength after the change in turns when I own the province. So what's my plan of attack, given that I know that he knows that I'm going to attack, and probably right this second? Let's have a look at what I've got. Almost all of my chaff was eliminated. I do have 9 plus the commander 10 Mind Blasters. I do have 10 Meteorite Guards and a Valiant Slave Trooper, and I do have the remaining 2 Formless Spawn. What I've chosen to do is have the Mind Blasters firing on cavalry, and I'm hoping they will Mind Blast the Holy Ponies so the Meteorite Guard can stab them to death. Without any chaff, I have a real problem though, because I'm really worried they'll just charge up the flank and kill my Illithids in robes. So I've positioned in one corner with a group of my large Illithids and shoved 2 Formless Spawn beneath them. If he's put the cavalry on the top flank, they will charge straight into the Meteorite Guard, which might be fatal, I hope, for him. If he's got them on the bottom, then they'll rush along the field along the bottom, and then rush up the field smack into the spawn that should be able to survive their lance hits. All the while, the Mind Blasters, I hope, will be blasting them. The Meteorite Guards are on hold and attack closest, so if the cavalry rush down and wail on the Formless Spawn, I'm hoping that the Meteorite Guards will have a clue and attack them, not whatever other troops there are, including the Shark Tribe province defense, which I don't like. That's my plan. We'll see if it works. Let's have a look at what I'm recruiting in my capital. I'm still recruiting a slave mage commander because I have to get my research up. Because I'm going to war, I've changed what I'm doing with ordinary troops. Instead of spending all my resources on relatively expensive meteorite guards, I'm getting very cheap Loba guards instead, and plenty of them. There's nearly 30 of them here. One of the advantages of Loba guards is that they have a superior siege strength. If I'm going to war, I've got to march straight on his capital. If I want to take the capital anytime soon, I have to siege his walls down. In order to siege his walls down, I have to have a lot of Lobo guards. The danger with them is they might die in transit because stealth elves can chew them up. It's a worry, probably a worry for another day. So that's where it stands at the end of turn 6. I'm going to war. I neither expected nor wanted to go to war in the middle of year 0. Shit happens. Cheerio.